edition of the Sports War. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
We are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Report, and today we have a very special edition, also known as the Barnes and Michael Show. Michael, how are you, sir?
Dude, I'm doing, I think, a little better than you today, but I just feel like there's going to be positives for the Yankees this offseason that'll make you excited for next season.
Yeah, and it's just, I couldn't ask for a better scenario, the day after, and obviously, you could sense the disappointment, in my tone, but it doesn't mean that this isn't the best place to discuss, what's happened in the path forward. But it was funny because, I was mentioning to you before the show, and, I was on the phone with Matt for like 20 minutes earlier, just kind of recapping everything. And the first thing I said is the weather, which is quite gloomy, out there today, is perfect for the day after a postseason elimination, a postseason embarrassment. And I know just as well as me that there is no silver lining. At the end of the day, it just caps a very disappointing year. And there's just no positives that you could take from it. All you could think about is the path moving forward, which is in the world of Major League Baseball.
Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties.
Working through.
For some reason, you're paused.
And we
2-2, he got him swinging. A back-to-back strikeouts for Robbie Ray.
There's damage right there. Shohei, way, Cy Young. Wow. Where did that land?
Stuck to Chapman, who leaps up and grabs it.
Story spins and fires. Out at first.
There it goes. See ya. Home run, Aaron Judge.
All right. So obviously, last night capped the disappointing series against the Houston Astros as the Yankees get swept away in a game which they led 3-0 after 2 innings, but kind of a microcosm, of this series and in some parts of their season in general. So you could point to all the things that happened, that caused them to lose this game. And I was talking to you before the show, Mike, just the fact that 3 of these games they should have won. So you think about that, obviously, the complete chunkle on Saturday. But other than that, the other games are right there, and they just continue to make the big mistake when you can't make it. You think back to even game 2, on Wednesday, Severino, that 3-run homer to Bregman. Kind of set the tone for the game. You think about this game, you have a 5-4 lead late, 7th inning, double play to get out of the inning. And, it's a bad toss by Glaber. It's a bad setup and a lack of readiness out of Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So, that, there was just no coming back from that. And it was a shame because, we had struggled, obviously, getting shut out, on Saturday. We actually had done well offensively this game. But, of course, things don't go right early. After the few runs, Nestor has to leave with the injury. So that kind of set the tone and to, have that home run to tie the game at 3 and just go back and forth. And I really think, it just speaks to the fact that there is no, and I said this once again to you, before the show, there is no such thing as, hiding your warts, your weaknesses. You can't just get by winging it. And it really just speaks to the atrocious job that Brian Cashman has done. And we talked about this a lot, earlier in the season, last off season, and just not bringing in premier talent and not, making the right moves. And, he can kind of spin it any way that he wants. But if you really go back a few years, he made one of the worst decisions in franchise history. Not bringing in Bryce Harper, not bringing in Manny Machado. And I know everybody gets so tired of saying, if George were here, this is what he would have done. But the thing is George were here, Machado and Harper would be on the Yankees. And then you think about pairing them with Judge and Stanton. It just takes this offense to a new level. And it's like we've seen, since this run started in 2017, you can't rely on ordinary players to deliver big time, especially after you've seen them fail to deliver big time, in the postseason. It's just not a formula for success. And I don't know how many times, you're looking to fail before you learn that. And it's like, this obviously calls for, sweeping changes in the organization. And obviously, the last few years we've seen a reluctancy to act on those. And before we continue on, I guess we have a couple comments.
So Matthew says, I just watched Judge's post game, hate how they talk in the past tense, like it was an honor to wear the pinstripes, feel bad I couldn't bring them a championship in the last 6 years. Then we're going to go to Prefer, who says Judge wants to go to his hometown childhood team, San Francisco Giants. Nestor injury hurt the Yankees. Prefer again. Matthew says, I know he probably sounds like that because he has to or whatever, but give us a little hope, LOL. And then he goes, relax, Prefer. He'll be back in pinstripes.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with all of Matthew's points. Obviously, me and Prefer are usually on the opposite, sides of things here. And listen, I do agree though. It's like he has to talk like that. He has to put pressure on them. And he saw when he left it up to them, prior to this season, they lowballed him. So he doesn't want to be in that situation. But you just hope that it doesn't come down to, an extra year or two, an extra $20 or $30 million that Hal wants to be tight on. And it's like, I was talking to Matt about this earlier. I was talking about Bill in our office, who's been a 70+ year Yankee fan. And I've mentioned this to you many times, Michael. It's just like the thing that I just don't quite get with Hal is, and I don't know him, you don't know him, Prefer doesn't know him. If it really is that he could care less about winning and he just wants to make money, where is the thought process in if you just make the right decisions and spend the money the right way, you're going to make even more money. And it's like that's just the most frustrating part, is the fact that Josh Donaldson and IKF make more money collectively than Bryce Harper does. And so it's not about him being cheap. It's about not, allocating the resources in the right way. And I just don't get why it's fixated in Hal Steinbrenner's mind that Brian Cashman has to be the decision maker, and how he doesn't see, the need for a new voice, new ideas, a new strategy. Because sure, he's had some diamonds in the rough, some good moves, like Harrison Bader and like bringing Nestor back after he was DFA'd a couple times. Sure, those things have worked well, but there's been so many colossal failures. And it just seems like, for whatever the reason may be, he just does not want to put any blame on Brian Cashman. And sure, it's not just that. I mean, the players have to step up, but also I think, sending Boone back out there, giving him an extension last year after an embarrassing wild card loss, it just sends the wrong message to the players. It sends wrong message to the fan base. And I know on the outside, they might act like they all like Boone and stuff, but I think, you could see the frustration that was displayed in this series with the post-game interviews with Clay Holmes, with Severino, where they're saying, they're kind of questioning the moves that he made. And I just feel like he's way too passive, and you just need someone, with a new strategy there. And I was, texting Matt about this yesterday too. The fact that you need to bring in the guys, from the core four that were involved with all this winning, and really make their mark on these new guys. And the thing that, gives all Yankee fans hope is, and you mentioned this to me before the show as well, Michael, is what Derek Jeter said when he was honored, that he says, trust me, you don't want to boo him. So that would allude to the fact that there's some type of role for Jeter, and maybe that hadn't been decided. Maybe they wanted to see how the season ended up, but hopefully, it's something in terms of the front office, because I just think, he could really make his mark. And you saw after he left them, before he left the Marlins, they were getting a lot of talent. And the reason he left is because they weren't going to allocate more money to try to build a winner. They have some good young talent over there. So you feel like he's a more refreshing mind than Brian Cashman. And it's like, we'll see, what happens. I guess if I really had to predict, I would say Jeter comes in. It is odd though, because I know Cashman, is a free agent. And it's like, I know Jeter was tight about the way the contract was handled. So it's like, would he really even want to work side by side for them? But it just seems like there's this thing that's built into how Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman, has to make baseball decisions. So you would think he would be back. But the thing that I would make me even just make Cashman somewhat tolerable for me is it just admitting on mistakes. And I know, there's a game played with the media, but it doesn't even need to be about what he says at a press conference. It needs to be done with action. So, I don't care how much money, is owed to Hicks, is owed to Donaldson, how much he liked Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, how he feels like Gleyber Torres' value isn't as high as it once was, but it somewhat recovered this year. It's like, we know those guys got to go. You have to cut the dead weight. There's just no doubt about it. And what I would love to do, and obviously this is counting on Judge being there, is to bring in a guy like Trey Turner, and who's fast. He could field his position. He steals bases. He has power, but he doesn't always just swing for the fences. And I feel like that's the type of guy we need to bring in. And just get rid of those older declining players. It's not going to work. And like a perfect example is Nolan Arenado. He might opt out and become a free agent. He's, I think, a little older than Judge. It's like, normally you'd say, oh, superstar third baseman, Gold Glover, lots of power. But how old is he? He's 31. You got to get away from those older players. You need newer players, newer ideas, newer strategies, quick bat speed. And I think that we have some of those guys, in our organization. And obviously the season didn't end on a high note, for Oswaldo Cabrera, but I think he's one of those guys. We saw how much talent Peraza displayed. I mean, he's got to be, either your starting second baseman or shortstop. But if Anthony Volpe, the number one prospect in the organization, is going to make the team out of spring training, then, have Peraza play second, have Volpe play short. And if you're not going to sign Trey Turner, then have Cabrera play third. You want to have all your young guys in there. Jose Trevino, really struggled offensively the second half of this year. Love what he does defensively. So I think you work something out with your top catching prospect, Austin Wells, have him up there. So have those guys. It just gives you more of a chance, and just no Hicks. Like you just no Marwin Gonzalez, no Tim LaCastro. You have to focus on acquiring talent. And, those guys have shown they can't step up in the big moment. And one guy, and I mentioned this to Matt before the show too, that I would consider moving is Luis Severino. You have a $15 million option on him. You don't have any control after that. And while he has shown his talent, and it's because of this, because of that, it's at the end of the day, his numbers aren't strong in the postseason. You need to have a pitcher that you can rely on. And the fact that you can't rely on him on the postseason and you can't rely on him to stay healthy, I just feel like he has a decent amount of value now. So let's get something back for him. I think that would be a good place to start. And I think, we can sort the pitching stuff out. I mean, I'm sure Tyone's not going to be re-signed. So that's another guy, that you'll have to be replaced. And I would imagine, I hated Frankie Montas. He was awful. But I would imagine because of what you gave up for him, he's going to be back, even if he has to be your fifth starter. So it seems like with all that being said, maybe you'll have one rotation spot that you need to fill. And obviously you never have too much pitching, but I would love to bring in Carlos Rodon, from the Giants. You could tell, he had a great year last year. And he just has the stuff, the intensity. You need intense guys. And I think he would be perfect to pitch in the postseason. So do that. You count on your bullpen options coming back. Marinaccio, I think, will be big moving forward. Will Weisiger will be big moving forward. Clay Holmes in some capacity, maybe not as a closer. I think you can, work on the bullpen. You can go with the guys that you have and maybe, here or there in free agency, but also you can always acquire guys at the deadline, see what guys fall into place. Because I just think it is a mistake. While it would be tempting and it would be funny to take him away from the Mets, but giving Edwin Diaz 5 years, $100 million, I don't know if that's the best allocation of resources. I think you need to focus on the offense because while the bullpen hasn't done us favors at times, it's just the common thing about how difficult it is to score runs. And if we've seen postseason after postseason, these guys aren't going to produce. You have to have new life in there. And I think, some of their prospects provide them with that. And one guy, Anthony Rizzo has that $17 million player option for next year. I would think he opts in. I don't know how much of it is tied to, Judge or not. Because I just think you get the sense he just loves being a Yankee. And I love what he does defensively. And especially it's a 1-year commitment. We can sort it out after. So I would love to have him back. But I think the common message here is, getting rid of the incompetent guys, the guys who don't step up. And I would hope that comes in the form of a new manager and a general manager. But I would settle for at least one of them. And obviously the more likely one would be Boone than Cashman, but we'll have to see. It's just, it's being a Yankee fan, being associated with the Yankees, you pride yourself on a high standard. And I just feel like to literally, and I have nothing against him personally, but it's like to have a clown at manager, I just feel like that's embarrassing. Like you're embarrassing your fan base. And the last thing I'm going to say about this too is I talked to Matt about this earlier as well, is like you keep, not putting your best foot forward, you're not going to lose the fans like me and Matt, but you're going to lose a lot of other people because they're just going to be turned off and it doesn't give them ability. I mean, you have all these young Yankee fans growing up right now. And what message are you sending them that you continue to not put your best foot forward to fielding a championship team that has a shot? They set a record for the most consecutive championship series losses, five since 2010, since they last won the World Series in 2009. I mean, that is embarrassing. And there just has to be a reaction. And it's just, you really have to hope, as terrible as this is and as bad as this feels, that this could be the turning point, because we know that all the stuff I'm saying now, I felt it one way or another last year when they lost that wild card game. And while you feel like some things, some positives were made of this season, there's still a lot of questions. And, you just hope that this will be them going for it, being bold, new voices, a message to the fans, and it's like, I know that we're not going to get an apology from Hal, but George would have penned one. He did it after they were denied their fourth straight title. But Hal is too much of a chicken, and he just does not seem like He cares about winning games and winning championships. And that's the toughest thing. But like I said, I don't know him personally. So I just got to have blind faith because, like I said, me and Matt, we're not going anywhere. And we got to hope that this is just the start of a turnaround, the start of a new strategy, and that those wave of prospects, that they're going to provide us the lift to get to where we want to be, because that's the only hope that we have. And it all starts, though, with re-signing Judge, making him the captain. That sets the tone for the team. That sets the tone for the fan base. And that sets the tone for the rest of the league to say, you know, we've had 30 straight winning seasons. We are in contention every year. We're not going anywhere, and it's only up from here. And that's the type of message that they need to send. It's that simple. I believe we
have some comments.
Some more comments here.
Matt actually before said Nestor groin injury, tough spot on the body, be injured for a pitcher. It fucked up his whole delivery to the mound. It looked like. Before says, I don't like the Yankee players that were playing out of position. And then Before said, I don't like the Yankees bullpen, no closer. Before also said too many strikeouts. Also, Matt goes, really pathetic how you can't hold a lead at home in an elimination game. Like, come on, man. And Matt also says this whole series on offense just felt like a swing and a miss, and it was just a 3-pitch at bat. Aaron Boone is not getting fired. Before Matthew, I agree. Barnes, have the young guys come up. Infield should be Cabrera at third, Volpe at short, Peraza at second. I can't believe that stat. That's so fucked. That's probably to the 5 straight.
Oh yeah. And you know, I just feel like, you know, that's going to give you your best hope. And one thing that, you know, he commented on that I noticed throughout this whole series, and some of the guys that I want to keep in place did this, like Judge, like Stanton, and like Rizzo at certain times, is, I mean, this has to be like the complete turning point in terms of swinging at the low, whether it's away, whether it's in, whether it's just low right down the middle, off-speed pitch. You have to stop, and I don't know if the approach needs to be simplified enough where it's just your dead red fastballs and that's all you're doing, because they just have not had success. You know, sure, the occasional you hang a slider right over the middle of the plate, they're going to hit it. But anything that's not right over out of the plate that's off speed, they swing and miss every single time. And it's like there has to be a different approach, and you can't always just go for the home run. There are certain times, and Rizzo's did it, you know, when he had that hit, you know, to give us the lead temporarily last night, you know, choking up the bat, putting the ball in play. You have to be able to do that too. So that's why there's so many moving pieces here. You have to have the right guys in place, but then you also have to have the right guys sending the message. And that's why manager, which the importance of it has really decreased, is really more important than you think, because I mean, what's Boone saying to them? What the hell is he saying to them? It's like, it's really just a complete joke. And just hearing his name, like just hearing the name, like I feel embarrassed. I literally do feel embarrassed. Boone and Cashman, it is so embarrassing. And it's like, let's cut this off at the knees here and start going in the right direction, because, you know, Michael, I mean, think about, like, and I know obviously they had their title, but like, imagine if what's happening now is the same thing that like happened to the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like, they said, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And now where are you? You know what I mean? We can't get to that point. I mean, we think now is bad. That's just like straight Sikorsky. So let's not let that happen. Let's use our brain, and I guess it's like there just is no way of knowing, which is just so annoying. But I really would love to know, like, the thought process, you know, in regards to how, like, deep down, does he actually believe, like, the Cashman and Boone can deliver this team a championship? Like, does he actually believe it? Like,
there's
is
no
he just
way.
lazy?
Probably. And like, he's comfortable.
But it's
maybe
not,
he's comfortable.
It's not hard. And I guess it's that he's cheap too, because like I know Cashman, you know, his contract's gonna expire, but there's some love thing going on with Cashman. Like, they can't get rid of him. And, like, Boone, they just signed to extension. So I'm sure he doesn't want to fire Boone and then have to pay another manager. And it's just like if you win, the costs are going to be offset. So that's just a tough thing. And a couple more here. Michael's
some comments. Yeah. Matthew said, in my opinion, in October, you have to adapt, and your game plan should be to expand the zone, work counts, and get on base. He also added, when you get traffic on the bases, that's how big innings happen and put together quality at bats. But first, as Astros won 7 in a row, could they sweep the Phillies and have a flawless playoffs? I think Phillies are destined for the World Series, dude, after this Bryce Harper.
I know you also know. What am I going to say? But it
still stinks.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I know.
So,
yeah, they always say Cashman is a part of the Steinbrenner family. Oh God.
I mean, just real painful.
That just hurts to hear, huh?
Yeah. Because it's just like, at least if you just feel like they're not trying at certain aspects, and that is, the most disappointing part, because it's just putting the right pieces in place, and as Matt says, like a huge chief. And it's I guess, because I always kind of go back and forth with this between how Boone and Cashman, like, who the biggest chief is, but I guess it has to start at the top, no?
Yeah,
because it's like, how would it be a chief if he let these guys go? But it's like, it's really, and it's so childish, just in terms of, like, they're so reluctant to not just one time just say, yeah, we brought this guy in. We had high expectations for him. We viewed him as somebody who could be a big contributor. Clearly, he's not. And that's why we moved on from him. They can never say that. It's always like, well, this, well, that. And it's like, that's just not good enough. And that's what's just so frustrating, because you just would want to, it would just feel so much different if they were coming up short for a different reason. But it just seems like it's a lack of leadership and reaction. And that's just the toughest part.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Boone isn't the guy.
But it really, like, just think about all the people that have stood in that dugout ahead of the team. I mean, he really might be the most embarrassing manager
of Yankee history. Yeah.
And it's sure, like, you could look.
You've had, like, losing teams, though.
Right, you've had losing teams, but the fact that you have a guy that all he's done since you brought him in is backpedal. You know what I mean? You were.
I know.
You had 2 games remaining in that 17 championship series. You had to win 1. You're in the World Series, and then since then, you've not been in that position. And it's been 6 seasons. It's not like it's been 2 seasons. It's been 6.
Wow.
And that's just too many. So I don't know. I like I said, I guess if I had to guess, I think if the thing that, unfortunately, some of it will be good, but it's just the fact that it doesn't couple with staff changes. I think more player movement than staff changes is in order. But unfortunately, I deep down, hate to admit it, but I think Boone and Cashman will be back. But it's just so annoying because it's like Boone, not Boone, but Cashman his contract's up. So it's like the perfect time. You don't need to fire him. You just don't need to renew his deal. And kind of just to wrap up this conversation, I'm just kind of curious your thought process here. What you mentioned to me about what Jeter said, and knowing what Jeter said about Cashman in the front office, during his contract negotiations. What do you think he meant by that at the induction?
I think he's saying, don't boo. Like, how? Because we're making changes. And I feel like they've known the whole time. I don't care how close him and Cashman are. Jeter is like then a brother to him. Right?
But, oh, I see. Yeah, because for a second I'm thinking
to Cashman. Yeah. Stab him in the back. No.
Yeah.
No, and like, dude, and it's like maybe it was just like let it run its course. Like proof is in the pudding now. It's been, you said 6 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. So hopefully that's what he meant.
That's what that's what Matt said too.
And yeah, I kind of felt like that too when Jeter said that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it is, and that would be the same.
What would you do if you woke up and Twitter and your phone, you looked at your phone and said Derek Jeter, Cashman fired, Jeter hired?
I mean, at least there's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel. That's what we need, and we just need those ingredients from those late 90s, those early 2000 teams that clearly isn't with this team. And I think it starts with accountability, and it starts at the top. Barnes would skydive off his balcony out of pure joy. Well, I want to see it through. I mean, geez.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. But yeah, it's always tough, the first day after, elimination. And unfortunately, I'm all too familiar with the feeling. And one thing that I always do religiously is I usually, on average, it's about a week straight of no local radio. Like I'll just listen to like NFL radio or something that they're not even going to talk. I just don't even want to hear anybody talk about it. Shut up. And the only thing I want to hear, the only place I want to hear about it is right here.
Yeah.
That's definitely the case. And of course, we appreciate the conversation with everybody. So that's all I have. Still in somewhat of a shock, just because, well, I knew it was an uphill battle. I just didn't think the battle would end like this and end like with a feeling that, even despite all the inefficiencies surrounding the team, that they could have found a way, but they just didn't. And that's the worst feeling. And as
wow, Mary
says, get over it, Barnes. And you know what? But that's the mentality, I would say. That perfectly describes the Met mentality. And that's why they're able to get over it so easily, because they never have success. But once you're familiarized with success, your mindset is completely different. And that is the Yankee mentality. And that is all I have. Let's go to the world of the National Football League.
For 101, 2 touchdowns. To Evans, touchdown, Tampa Bay.
How about that throw?
Sam Darnold blasted. Oh my goodness, did he take a hit? In trouble, what? Brings him down. Lost one from Odell Beckham Jr. Got it down. Touchdown.
All right. So once again, the New York Jets are victorious. Yesterday in Denver, obviously the Broncos without Russell Wilson, and the Jets, I feel like since the receipt comment was made, since I mentioned on this show the fact that, Saleh, this defensive guy, where's the defense? Where's the performance? They've had some really good defensive performances of recent. And that's what's carried them in this stretch as they've went from 1-2 to 5-2. And winning all the games since Zach Wilson, returned.
Yeah, Zach Wilson's. Do you know he's undefeated?
Yeah, but we'll get to him in a second.
He's still undefeated.
So
he's a winner.
One thing that
I know, Breece Hall
stands out to this, you ran the ball well, but the guy who's been running it the best and had a 62-yard rushing touchdown yesterday,
and was the fastest speed docked, in the NFL so far.
Fastest speed docked. And now I know they said ACL injury, but there's not, like, even though it's obvious, but it's like they have not officially said it's a torn ACL, right?
Not yet,
but we know that's coming. So it's just tough because while I do like Michael Carter, I just feel like he can't be in every down between the tackles, 20 carry a game guy. He's better for, being your third down back, getting 5 to up to 10 carries per game, catching 5 balls out of the backfield. So it's like, I know, Ty Johnson got a carry yesterday. And I'm sure they have some guys on the practice squad, but that's just the one thing that really just hurts. And I mean, like I said, Tyler Johnson, I mean, definitely had some level of success last year, so maybe he could step in. But I just hope too that this, they haven't said the severity of the ACL injury, so hopefully it's not one of those nasty, tears, and then Brees won't be the same, because I mean, he really looked like an all-pro running back up to this point in the season.
Maddie says, Mike, how pumped are you, bro? Dude, I haven't, as Barnes, I always wear every Monday after a win now my Jets hoodie with the Green Ranger or a green shirt. Today's a green, all green polo. Barnes, you'd like that?
Yeah.
T-shirt in honor of Gang Green, baby. I'm hyped. It's like, it's dope to wear the hoodie on a Monday and be like, we're a good team.
But you just don't even remember the last time it felt like this.
It's almost like fake.
And like I said too, the defense, had a really good game. And you had that game-sealing interception by LaMarcus Joyner, as well as the fact that while you didn't sack Brett Rippon a lot, only one sack, you were constantly in his face. You didn't really allow any huge runs in the running game, keeping the combination of Mike Boone, Latavius Murray, and Melvin Gordon in check. So, A+ ratings on the defense, and on the day, Sauce led them with 10 tackles.
Is he not so elite?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's
that
crazy.
Home run pick, the attitude, the performance, it's somebody who seems like he talks big, but then he plays big, and
he plays bigger.
There's a difference between just saying things but not backing them up, and that's why people have gotten frustrated, with the Jets before. So he's played a huge role, as well as CJ Mosley. You think about kind of the way his Jet career has started. It was hard to have confidence that he was going to be the guy that they brought over. From the Ravens, that all-pro linebacker, and he really has been that to start the season. So that's refreshing. And I did mention that I would get to Zach. I think that's the final piece. That's the final thing that I need to see to look at you.
Yeah, and
be confident, because we could say whatever we want. Great, hot team, defense playing well, running the ball good. We'll see what happens with Hall. But the thing is, and this, despite no matter what type of team Bill Belichick has had, because that's who the Jets are playing next week, he has made a mockery of the Jets. And it seems like every game, the Jet quarterback, whoever it is throwing 3 interceptions to that New England defense. And we haven't seen Zach necessarily air it out. Only 121 yards rushing in this one. Passing in this one. So you want to see more of that. And I think it's one of those things. Bill Belichick always takes away the best part of your game. And obviously right now, the best part of the Jets offensive game, I mentioned 155 yards rushing yesterday, is the running game. So he's going to stack the box, and it's like, can Zach make the throws? Because that's what I need to see. And I will be.
I hope he throws for like 500 yards, dude.
Because you look at it, I mean, the numbers aren't great. The results are, winning these games. But, since he's been back, 252, 50% completion, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Then the last 3 games, so 3 games combined, he's thrown for 351 yards, no touchdowns and interceptions in 3 games. And it's just like, we need a lot more than that. So I'm always straightforward, but it's just this type of like this strategy has to change, because right now this is even more limited of a passing game than when Mark Sanchez was at quarterback.
Yeah,
you know it.
You do know it.
You do know it, though. I mean, the numbers don't lie.
No, it's true.
You have to be able to pass the ball with success down the field. So that's what I need to see. And I'm a little concerned about next week, because I know the Patriots don't have a good team. That's the thing that sucks. And Mac Jones has been injured, and we'll see how he plays tonight on Monday Night Football. But I just feel like, a quarterback that hasn't shown much against Bill Belichick, I mean, it's it usually doesn't go well, and especially, and you know this too, because of his, I hate him first of all, but just the way he is with the Jets, and he's so tight about the Jets, and it's like, why are you tight?
I
You
know.
bailed at us at the 11th hour.
Mhm.
Why are you taking it? It just doesn't make any sense.
So
like,
weird.
And then he tries to say like, oh, he didn't want to go there, but it's like clearly you did want to go there, but then you got a better offer from New England, and that's why you went there. Let's not make it sound like it's any other thing than that.
Right.
So, that's just the that's just the tough thing. So I really hope that he could grow, and it's like not just being Michael, the internal optimist, regarding the Jets and Wilson. Like you really deep down believe that. Like I'm just curious too, because I know you believe in Zach. So I want to know, in your eyes, how far are we from 4,500 yards passing, 35 touchdowns? When does that happen?
Next season.
But so what is?
But this season, like I'd say halfway through, we're gonna start seeing more and more.
Because he still has not thrown for 300 yards in a game or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. How many games does he have? 5?
No. I'm saying including last year.
How many games did he play last year?
Like 12. So you think about that, it's basically a full season.
Yeah.
So and
I think it'll happen, dude. Why
are there no because you know what I mean? I want sustainability. We've waited so long
exactly
to have talent. We nobody's gonna argue that. There's so much talent on the Jets. And don't you think though, like to really show that they're not the same old Jets, they have to beat New England next week?
Have to not just beat them, but like beat them.
I mean, now imagine a statement 41-0 or something. But like, do it. You know what I mean? It's like just like with the Yankees, with the runners in scoring position. Just do it. No curveball in the dirt.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And Belichick's still licking his chops, though. You know it. And especially he's got the Bears tonight. I'm sure he'll make an embarrassment of Justin Fields.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. But let's just see it. Next week against New England. But obviously, though, I just don't want that. I don't want to get the message misconstrued. I am really pumped up about the Jets, and I'm so excited, Michael. There's look at the feed. It's saying, I think because of the highlights. This happened last time with Tony, and then he was able to fix it. Stream unavailable.
Really? We should be good. Yeah, just keep talking.
All right. But so that that's just the last piece of the puzzle that I'd like to see, and I hope it begins next week. It's at home. You don't have to go to Foxborough, because obviously Foxborough is always a tough place to play. But we'll of course see what happens. It just kind of running down the scores from yesterday. We saw the Bengals really come out firing on all cylinders. Falcons with a little life in the second quarter, but that was the only point of the game where they scored. They were shut out in the other 3 quarters. Joe Burrow, 481, 3 touchdowns, throwing the ball downfield to Boyd and Chase all day. So you feel like after, an 0-2 start, a 1-2 start, they're back. And you could kind of, all those concerns can be alleviated with the Super Bowl hangover. The Falcons, I mean, I think they're fortunate to be 3-4. So they just have to take some of the success that they've had. And I would imagine, even though I've always liked them, but sooner rather than later, Desmond Ridder gets in there. We saw Dak, make his return against the Lions yesterday, dominating them. 24-6. It was tight early. They ran away with it late. And once again, running game, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns from Ezekiel Elliott. Dak, 207, 1 score, but efficient, 19 out of 25. And, they got 5 sacks to Jared Goff, 2 turnovers. That's a recipe for success. So all in all, I mean, the Cowboys have to be happy with what they've had to deal with up to this point, that they've had such a stout defense. The fact that, with those injuries to Dak Prescott, they were able to get through that very well. And now they have him back, and it should only be an upward trajectory here as they look to challenge the likes of the Giants and the Eagles for the division. Kind of the same old thing with the Colts yesterday, 19-10 to the Titans. And it just seems like it's always a slow start. And when they are faced with adversity on the road specifically, it seems like they lay a lot of eggs. And they did that in a 19-10 defeat, at the hands of the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry had a nice day, 128 yards. Matt Ryan with a couple interceptions. Seemed like he was running for his life all day, 3 sacks. Jonathan Taylor, only 10 carries. I think that's got to change. We know when the Colts have been successful, over the last few years, it's been on the heels, of the running game. I mean, I think that's very important. I'm still not a believer in the Titans, and Tannehill's dealing with an ankle injury right now, left the game. Malik Willis was in, then he came back. But he hasn't been effective either. So I don't know. It just, do they do something like the Giants when they had Kurt Warner and they were winning? Do they just go to the rookie quarterback just to get him experience, have him learn on the fly? And even if that ends up costing them a playoff spot, is it worth it in the end? I mean, you have to toggle back and forth. I just think, how much can Ryan Tannehill really do for you anyway? But how about, and these are the next 2 games. Someone mentioned this yesterday. I forgot which football, there's so many different football pre and post game shows, but collectively, have Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady ever been at a lower point in their career, especially at the same time? You got the Packers losing to the Commanders, which, is embarrassing, but I don't know if I mean, you can't, nothing is more embarrassing than losing 21-3 to the Panthers after they trade their best players. They're starting PJ Walker at quarterback, and you only get a 4th quarter field goal. That is just atrocious. And when I look at both of these teams, I think that there's more hope for the Packers than there is for the Bucks. I think mentally, there's definitely some things going on with Brady, and you can't blame him. I mean, a lot going on in his personal life. But he's just, it's just not clicking. And it's just ironic who's at the helm, no other than Todd Bowles. So we wonder, does that have anything to do with it? Is he not respected by the locker room? I mean, how could he be? What track record does he have other than he's been a decent defensive coordinator? So that's a situation to monitor. And how about the Commanders, though? Back-to-back wins after a 1-4 start, going with Taylor Heineke, who Carson Wentz, another guy that we're on all the time, had a pretty good game. 201 yards, 2 scores. They got the running game going. You look at, Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. So, they both had good games overall, 166 yards on the ground. And, the Packers didn't get the running game going, only 38 yards. Rodgers under 200 yards again, 2 scores. It just seems like he doesn't have rapport with his receivers. He needs a big target, and you have to wonder, I don't know if he even wants to go there, but it's like, are they going to do everything they can to get Odell Beckham here? He needs a big play receiver, relying on the likes of Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard. I just don't think that's going to get him there. And it's just crazy to think. I really do know, and obviously it's not just quarterback receiver, but I don't know. The Packers are 3-4 right now. I think if Devontae Adams stayed, I honestly think they would be 5-2. I really do, because he's just like, anytime he needed a big first down, whatever the case may be, he was able to find Adams streaking down the field, and he just can't do this with the host of receivers that he has. But I say that to say this, and I made the comparison before. I'm just kind of curious your perspective here, Michael. More likely to turn it around by season end, the Packers or the Bucks?
I would say Rodgers and the Packers. There's less drama there,
right?
Seems like. So I feel like they have just a couple hiccups here.
Yeah,
possession here, possession there. They like you said, could be 5-3 right now.
But the thing is, too, they're in danger of going 3-5. Sunday Night Football next week in Orchard Park in Buffalo.
Oh my gosh!
What percent chance you give them of winning that game?
None.
Rodgers said it's a good thing because nobody will give him a chance. We'll have to, of course, see what happens there. The New York Giants, I have to say, I thought they were going to blow it. 23-17 over Jacksonville. Late defensive stop there. Danny Dimes, I mean,
100 yards rushing.
Yeah, running the ball, not turning it over. That was the bugaboo for him. And then Saquon's had a great year.
Yeah.
Credit where credit's due. And I still think, the biggest part of this team, though, is the coaching staff. They've made the players believe. We talk about clown coaches, Aaron Boone. I mean, what do you think the New York Giants that we're dealing with the last few years? So to have a guy that's widely respected around the league like Brian Daboll, I think that's made the difference. And of course, too, Saquon staying healthy. I just think that's been so big. And I don't know if they're still running to get a contract extension done, but we have seen an improved version of Daniel Jones. So you would think those two go hand in hand. We'll have to see. And the bad times keep rolling on for the Cleveland Browns. 23-20, they fall to the Ravens yesterday. And I just thought this was an interesting game because when I watched this game, honestly, the Browns, despite them being 2-5, despite the Ravens being 4-3, the Browns look like the better team. There's
something going on in Baltimore.
And I think
with
the contract, right? I mean, Lamar Jackson, 9 completions yesterday for 120 yards, rushes for 59 on the ground. But where is that explosive offense we saw the first couple of games? And they had blown 10-point fourth quarter leads their previous games. They almost do it again here. The defense comes up big. But I don't know. And the defense had struggled. I mean, this game, they did pretty good with 5 sacks. But that's just another situation to monitor. And you would think the contract is a big part because I really believe in Lamar Jackson. I think he is a premier talent. So just be interesting to see their path forward. The Browns sit it here, 2-5. And you think about it, they got 4 games, then a bye, then Deshaun Watson comes back. It's.
Are you curious to see how he looks?
Yeah, I think he's going to be rusty, but I think also, they're 2-5, 4 games left. Let's say they even go 2-2. They're still 4-7 by the time he gets back. What are they going to run the table and make the playoffs? Like, probably not. So that's just a disappointing situation for them. The Raiders come back with a vengeance here. 38-20, scary moment. I think it was in the end of the first quarter. Derek Carr goes down, but he did go back into the game and was all right. And you look at his stat line, 241 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, didn't turn it over, only sacked once. But Josh Jacobs, there were some questions about his future with the team after they declined his 5th-year option going into this year. 143 yards on the ground, 3 scores. So really showing up as the better team. And this one was tight early, tied at 10.5. But then, the Raiders go 28-10, outscoring the Houston Texans in the second half. So Josh McDaniels off the hot seat for now. But of course, they're still going to have to win a decent amount more games here. Schedule is manageable. If you look at actually the next 5 games, Saints, Jags, Colts, Broncos, Seahawks. So all winnable games, as the Raiders, will look to get back into the mix here. We saw the Seahawks, another offensive explosion for the Seahawks, defeating the Chargers 37-23. Geno Smith, 210 through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Kenneth Walker III, stepping in for Rashad Penny, who's now out for the year, 168 yards rushing, 2 scores. So once again, not turning the ball over much on offense, good running game, and, defense picking their spots to step up. They did turn Herbert over once with a pick, had 3 sacks. And I'm impressed. And I know, there's this whole mindset with the Chargers that they always blow it. Is the head coach the right guy? But you have to give credit where credit is due. And Seattle to compete week in and week out and have a better offense than they did with Russell Wilson last year, obviously is the biggest indictment on him. It's just funny because everybody thought Pete's cooked. The roster around him is cooked, but really Russ was the one who's cooked clearly. So, I mean, that's just a very impressive situation. And I really hope too, though, that the Chargers turn this around. And I don't know if they need a new head coach, but Justin Herbert is so talented. We saw Mike Williams leave with an injury late in this game, but it's like they should have enough to at least like, be one of the top teams in the AFC, not like fighting to get the last wild card. I just feel like he's too talented to be in that situation,
Right, 100%.
I mean, he could be an all-time great, right?
Yeah, I love him.
And speaking of all-time greats, Patrick Mahomes yesterday, the Chiefs, 44-23, and it really just speaks volumes. You look at Mahomes, 423 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. That's what we want to see out of Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
And we're not talking about Russ.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just speaks volumes of going into this year, similar situation like the Packers. They lose their top receiver in Tyreek Hill. A lot of questions. What's Mahomes going to do with the new targets? And you look at yesterday, 2 new targets, finally getting more comfortable, more on the same page with Mahomes. You saw Smith-Schuster, 7 receptions, 124 yards and a score. Valdez-Scantling, 3 for 111, including a 57-yard reception. And then Travis Kelce, who else? 6 for 98 yards. So it's like no matter who you put there, if they have some talent, if they exceed in some way, Patrick Mahomes is going to find a way to utilize it. And that's what's so impressive about the Chiefs here. They also ran for 112 yards, averaging 5.3 yards a carry. So between Pacheco, Edwards-Helaire, and McCall Hardman, who's a wide receiver, actually had 2 rushing touchdowns. So they were firing on all cylinders. And I think this was a humble reminder to the San Francisco 49ers here. Jimmy G, and while the numbers look good, you have him going up against Patrick Mahomes. It's a similar result as you saw in the Super Bowl. He just cannot go toe to toe with the league's best. And that's why, they tried to replace him with Trey Lance. Obviously the season-ending injury changed that. In your eyes, is Mahomes the best quarterback in the league, or are you more on Allen?
No, Mahomes.
I mean, it's unbelievable, right? Like, kind of feels like he's destined to win it again this year, right? He's only had 1 so far. We've seen the guy win it, then they don't get back. We assume they would win 5 in a row. I mean, isn't this the kind of time where if he's going to win a bunch, you would think he would win it this year?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. They've moved to 5-2, and it's just funny that division. We thought the division was going to be crazy. Broncos are 2-5. The Raiders are 2-4. And the Chargers are 4-3. And once again, who else but the Kansas City Chiefs atop the division at 5-2. So congratulations to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the rest of the Kansas City Chiefs. In a very odd game yesterday, we saw the return of Tua Tagovailoa to the Miami Dolphins as they defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers 16-10, a scoreless second half. How many times do you see that? And Tua had a good game, 261 through the air, no turnovers or sacks. The running game was great, led the way with Raheem Mostert, who Mike McDaniel, worked with in San Francisco, 79 yards on the ground, also caught a receiving touchdown as well as 30 yards receiving. And then they picked off Kenny Pickett 3 times. So anytime, you're able to do that, get 2 sacks as well. That's impressive. And I know it's a tough division. You think about the AFC East right now, all the teams being 500 or better. It's going to be competitive, but you have to feel good after dropping 3 in a row. You get that win here, and it's just the Steelers. It's tough. I mean, Najee Harris, 65 yards on the ground. And Freiermuth led the way, receiving 75 yards. Nice to see Pickens, catch that touchdown there. But it's going to be a long year, and you hate to say it, especially, of course, if you're a fan of the Steelers here, but hard to not see this streak of consecutive winning seasons ending this year with Pittsburgh. I think there's just too much catching up to do. So, we'll see how they finish this one out. But that was our full slate of, football games from yesterday. So definitely kind of an interesting Sunday for sure. Some surprises, some things, you can mark down. But all in all, just another great week of football here. And we cap it off tonight with probably one of the worst matchups of the week here as the New England Patriots host the Chicago Bears. You look at this game and the Patriots, after a 1-3 start, have won their last 2 games. The Bears, after a 2-1 start, have lost their last 3 games. New England, 8.5-point favorites here. Total set at 40. And of course, the big storyline in this is, the inability of the Bears to vertically move the ball down the field with Justin Fields. They just haven't been able to do it. So how do you look at this game? And despite, the uncertainty of how Mac Jones will look coming off that ankle injury, I mean, how do you look at this game any other way than that the Patriots will most likely shut out the Bears here at home? And Belichick, he has a team that he knows can't contend for a championship, but anytime he has the chance to spit on the face of an opponent, he's going to do it. And I think that's what we're going to see tonight in Foxborough. I want to say this is 28-0. I just feel like Fields, maybe 3 interceptions, and the Patriots will probably run the ball a lot. They don't want to put Mac Jones in harm's way. And somehow, some way, the rascal himself, Bill Belichick, will find a way to get over 500 here. Long way to go. But all I could tell you, Michael, and all my concerns about, Wilson, we got to beat them next week. Because he literally, there will be, and this too, and Bart knew it after that playoff game back in 2010, there'll be nothing that Belichick can say if we're able to beat them next week at home. Nothing. And that's what we want. We want Belichick to be silenced, to be humanized. And I feel like in a way, tell me I'm wrong here, it's almost like symmetrical, because what we see with Brady, with the lack of success the Bucs are having this year, how does it end more perfectly than the Jets beating the Patriots and getting a season sweep, not only winning next week, but winning at their matchup in Foxborough? That would be setting the tone. That would be showing the changing of the guard, and then his smog face talking about the Jets, the slights, all of that,
so annoying,
out the window,
gone
completely out the window. So I just can't wait for that. Obviously though, time will tell. But let's go now to the world of the National Basketball Association.
The Bulls LeBron James at the buzzer. He banks in the three, and the Lakers win the game.
And it's an 0-3 start for the Los Angeles Lakers as they fall at the hands of the Portland Trail Blazers. 106-104. Dame doing his thing in this 3-0 start for Portland here. 41 points, 5 boards, 2 assists. We have Westbrook missing easy layups. We have the Lakers, collapsing in the final minutes. Going into the fourth quarter with a 5-point lead, losing the game by 2. It's here we go again. And I think, this speaks to the dysfunction of the team going into this year. And I know it's only 3 games and stuff can change and this and that, but it's Westbrook could not be on the team. And here we have an owner, similar to the mindset of that of Hal Steinbrenner here. Westbrook, we have to pay so much in luxury tax. We have to pay so much money to him in general this season. We can't just release him. We have to play him. So it's like, you would rather not just admit the fact that you made a terrible acquisition and just completely tank your season than just get rid of him
and waste a year of LeBron's career.
Yeah. I mean, and how does he not want to get out of Dodge here?
I know.
But is it like, I'm sure obviously they still have their flaws, but in your eyes, is it that simple that Westbrook goes, everything kind of
No, they still have problems. Like Anthony Davis is the worst shooting big man per whatever. I forgot what it was.
100 minutes.
Whatever it is that the league has. He can't they're not good right now. The team's not good. LeBron's energy isn't good there.
And it's crazy though. It kind of speaks to the
Lonnie Walker.
There.
Like, come on.
Lonnie looks decent though.
No, but he's a Spur, but like he's not going to do well in this with
but LeBron for energy, vibes, whatever, but 20th season, 31, 8-8.
I know.
For not good vibes. That just speaks to the talent.
His energy, he's like not happy, you could tell.
So it'll just be interesting to see. Can they turn it around? How much longer do they have to put up with Russ? I mean, he clearly doesn't want to be there either. So a lot of questions to be answered. That's for sure. But on the more positive side of things, Michael, something you like talking about a lot. Knicks back in action tonight against your guy, Bol. So I'm sure you'll be watching this one.
I know.
7:30. We saw the Knicks rebound from that disappointing loss on opening night to Memphis with a resounding victory over Detroit, 130-106.
Brunson looks great.
And I mean, as you look forward to this one, and obviously the biggest task here when it comes to the Orlando Magic, in my eyes anyway, would be, star rookie Paolo Banchero, sometimes confused with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Just kind of keeping him in check, and then the rest of it should take care of itself, or no?
They're 0-3, dude. Yeah. They're not a good team. It doesn't matter how much talent they have.
Talent.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's
sometimes that'll show up. So
it will. He had 30, but they still lost.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a good game. I really hope Bol shows something and they make a trade for him. Imagine Bol in the Knicks this season.
Oh my God,
he's so sick. But yeah, I love our team. You should watch a game soon.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna love watching the Knicks. It's a really good team. They play defense. They pass the ball. It's not like last season with the ASO ball.
Right,
Julius, like that doesn't exist anymore.
And do you think like a big key is Mitchell avoiding the foul trouble? I mean, we saw that the first game.
Yeah, I guess that's what it was. The first game,
minutes. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like they're a different team defensively.
With him. Yeah. He's ridiculous. Not many people can block KD's jumper straight up, and he does.
Yeah. So obviously good vibes early, and you just want to keep the good times rolling here with the win over the Magic. So you would expect them to do that. We'll see. So that one, 7:30 on NBA TV. And do you expect it to be smooth sailing the whole way, or maybe like a tight game early and then pull away?
No, just dominance, teaching the young players how to play.
So that should be entertaining just to see the talent on the floor. I'm really excited for that myself. And speaking of talent, Michael, we've had some talented cards that were selected, and since we're talking NBA here, I feel like why not a better time to do a Prism pack reveal. Tony loves the bike. We get some music.
I got you.
It really just sets the tone. I mean, does it not?
I want basketball music to hold on.
Yeah. No. We'll give you a second there, but just gonna be kind of interesting to see. It seems like recently we've had some more legends pop up. So, I always like a nice mix, at least one legend and then one star Hall of Famer. That's really makes for a good pack. All right, here we go. And we have setting the tone.
Nice.
Multiple time defensive player of the year.
Okay.
Rudy Gobert. So I think I could be wrong.
We have that one, right?
No, this is Global Reach, so it's a different one. So at least same player, different card. We can live with it. Here's a talented guy playing for a team that might not win many games this year, but could win many in the future. From Houston, Jalen Green.
Yes.
So that's a guy.
Dude, that's huge.
He was the G League star?
Yes, okay, dude. Number 2 overall pick.
So that's a guy definitely.
That's a great one.
With some potential. And to wrap up these two, these are a couple of big timers.
Really?
To end the
no, you're being funny.
From the Detroit Pistons, Saban Lee. I think he's boys with Okoro.
Yeah.
And this is a repeat pick here. A guy, kind of he does the fundamentals right, but just doesn't light up the scoreboard. From the Atlanta Hawks, DeLon Wright.
Dude, we are owed a great card in one of these next packs. I just feel it.
Yeah.
But that Jalen Green is nobody like that's not a sleeper. That's a great pick.
Yeah,
We needed him because we have a lot of those players. I'm sure we'll get a Cade in this.
Yeah, you would think.
But first said good show, fellas, and he said I would have stayed home if the Mets lost. So,
I don't get it.
like because you came in.
Oh, yeah. But come on, Ver. I don't hide.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, the Prism packs continue on, and one other thing, I wanted to mention, we did have the CJ Cup in Ridgeland, South Carolina over the weekend. Great course, very exciting tournament. We had an exciting finish.
Rory, right?
And Michael, you'll appreciate this, and I think you remember me picking this.
Yeah.
I think I was doing the show with you.
Yeah.
I picked him to win.
Mhm.
He wins.
I know.
And he becomes world number 1 once again. So that was obviously, a long year, but he gets back to the number 1 spot. You could tell in the post game or, post tournament press conference. He was a little emotional about it, but what a tournament for him. 66, 67, 67, 67 to win at 17 under, 1 shot clear of Kurt Kitayama, 2 shots clear of KH Lee, and 3 shots clear of Tommy Fleetwood and John Rahm. So a lot of star power, at the top of this list here. We got the Bermuda Championship coming up this week on Thursday. So that's always a fun course, by the ocean, all of that. Can't wait to see, who's in that, who's going to rise up top, as, this fall portion of the schedule, continues on. And, then there'll be a little break coming up around Christmas time, before we get to Tigers tournament in the Bahamas, at the Target World Championship. So we got a little time for that. But definitely, congratulations to Rory. And you would think this year coming up, I mean, any major would suffice, but it just seems like, especially if Tiger's not going to do it, he's one of Tiger's closest friends. Rory is destined to win at Augusta. You kind of just feel that energy. And I believe that would complete the career Grand Slam, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So, obviously we're a little ways away from that, but definitely something to keep an eye out for. But as we wrap it up here, Michael, anything else you wanted to add, sir?
Just go Knicks, and all Yankee fans, keep your head up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it still doesn't suffice, but it definitely the whole grieving process, is definitely made easier as time goes on. So that's the only thing I could say. And we will feel better, a Judge contracts, resigning, a captain being named, and some type of move at the leadership positions, being addressed.
I agree.
That's all we got now. We got to build something sustainable, and the fans, we all deserve something better than this type of result. And I want it to be, and some people would say, oh, like this postseason specifically, or other years, like, oh, if you just avoid Houston. No. I don't want to avoid Houston. I want to beat Houston. And I know, and I'm personally guaranteeing next time we face them, we are not losing. We're not getting embarrassed again. And this is the end of the line of the dominance in the American League for the Houston Astros. You heard it here first. But once again, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and continuing to comment, like, and subscribe, as well as checking out the archives on the YouTube page, Tony in Costume, all of that, as well as the merch at downtimetv.com. Everybody enjoy the day, enjoy the games, and we will see you mañana.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our blood.